This is Learning Coherence, Chapter 8, a series on the architecture underneath professional learning plans. This chapter, what actually happens to stakeholder feedback inside the system. Chapter 8, what happens to your feedback?
Let me walk through the mechanics because the detail matters.
When a stakeholder consultation opens, the feedback form doesn't ask, "What do you think?" That question is too open to be useful. Instead, the form surfaces targeted questions tied to specific plan components. What do you notice about this goal? What's missing from this theory of action? What would you push on in this evidence plan? The questions are designed to elicit structural feedback, input that connects to the plan's architecture, rather than floating as general sentiment. And the form supports three input modes: written text, voice recording that gets transcribed automatically, and document upload. This isn't a convenience feature, it's a design choice about equity of voice. Not everyone communicates best in writing. Not everyone has the time to compose a carefully worded response on a keyboard. Sometimes what a teacher needs to say is easier to say out loud than to type on a phone at the end of a long day. The voice option changes who participates, and it changes how people say what they need to say. There's also a contributor mode: individual, group, facilitator captured, or persona. A group submission means 6 people at a table discussed and submitted, one response representing their collective thinking. With the group, this matters for the synthesis. That submission carries the weight of 6 voices, not 1. A facilitator-captured submission means someone facilitated a discussion and recorded the themes. Useful when groups don't want to compose a written response, but their thinking should be in the record. Each submission registers on a live counter visible to all participants. When people see submissions arriving, named, time-stamped, counted, they experience themselves becoming part of the data, and the data is permanent. A first-class record, the submission itself, not a consolidation. The evidence layer holds every submission in full, by name, by role, by contributor mode, complete text. Nothing summarized, nothing averaged. A stakeholder can come back and verify that their input was captured accurately. That verification step, and the ability to say, "Yes, that's what I said," is where trust in the process begins, not in the decision, in the record. And then the interpretation layer.
The boundary between what AI does here and what it doesn't is what makes the governance architecture trustworthy or not.
A synthesis engine reads every submission and looks for 3 things. Convergence, ideas that multiple people arrive at independently. When 7 teachers across 3 departments all name the same concern, that convergence is signal. It doesn't mean they're right, but it means the concern has independent corroboration, and the decision layer needs to address it explicitly. Tension, places where submissions directly conflict. 2 teachers might agree that coaching is important, but disagree about whether coaches should observe classrooms or focus on collaborative planning. That disagreement is data. Attention the decision layer needs to name and weigh, not noise to average away. Minority insights, the one submission nobody else echoed. This might be the most important idea in the entire consultation, or it might be idiosyncratic. The synthesis can't tell. What it can do is surface it, flag it for human attention, so that a person with context and judgment makes the call. This is where Patton's utilization-focused evaluation connects most directly to the governance architecture. Michael Quinn, Patton's core insight is that evaluation should be designed with the intent and capacity to use the findings for decisions.
Gathered because there's a specific decision that this evidence will inform, and the decision makers are committed to using it, not because the template has a box or accountability requires a report.
The 3-layer architecture embodies this principle structurally. The evidence isn't collected into a void, it flows to interpretation. Interpretation flows to decision. The decision references specific evidence. The chain is designed for use, not for... Every synthesis carries a human-reviewed flag. Before validation, it reads false. The machine reads, the machine drafts, the human validates. This isn't a technicality. It's the epistemic commitment of the entire system. AI performs pattern recognition across a volume of input that would take hours to process manually. It surfaces structure, convergence, tension, minority perspectives that might not be visible when you're reading submissions one at a time, but it does not make judgments about which ideas are good. It does not decide what to do. It does not assign weight to one perspective over another. I support synthesis. It does not hold authority. When the human reviewer validates the synthesis, they're making a claim. This interpretation accurately represents what stakeholders said. When they challenge it, you missed something, or that doesn't represent what I actually said, the synthesis is revised. The interpretation layer is visible, auditable, challengeable. That's the point. What I kept thinking about in this design extends beyond the system itself. There's a temptation to let AI synthesize stakeholder input and present conclusions. It's fast, it's efficient, and it collapses a critical step. The interpretation layer only functions as governance infrastructure when it's a draft that humans examine, not a conclusion they receive. The difference is between AI doing analysis and AI doing judgment. Analysis is appropriate, judgment is not. And the flag, human reviewed, true or false, keeps that line visible in the architecture. After the interpretation is validated, the governance architecture produces its most distinctive output, the piece most organizations never build.